we can get into sleepers then, and then we'll answer questions like best strategy to start your dynasty draft search. I see your question in the chat. Other people send in your questions as well. But let's just kind of go one by one in terms of sleepers and just give you a reason why. So I'll start with saying, who do I want to start with? I'll start with Michael Wilson. Like I said, Michael Wilson, I ranked 25th. The sleeper ADP on Michael Wilson is 45. So he's pretty much not getting drafted in rookie drafts. He only went in the third round in the actual draft because he's injury prone. And I don't think that's even fair. I think he's got a couple fluke season ending injuries. I think he's a second round talent. I think the wide receiver room is going to clear up with DeAndre Hopkins out of town. So I really like Michael Wilson, especially if he's just your free lottery ticket in the last round of your fantasy rookie draft. I like him a lot.
I agree.
Trevor, who's your first sleeper?
It hurts me to say this, and when I say sleeper, I mean like probably pick up with like one of the last picks of the draft or as a free agent if you want to, because like don't take him in the fourth. Dontavian Wicks for the Packers.
Sure.
I am not sold. Christian Watson's going to be the one. I'm not sold on Dobbs' role. I'm not sold on Torrey, Melton, DeGuara, Davis. We talked about their tight end problems. He's tall. He can jump. He's a huge target, and we know Love isn't exactly accurate. I can see him being a safety valve real quick, especially if Watson has some more problems with drops this year. I think the best thing about him is you probably don't need to waste a pick on him either.
I think that's fair.
Yep, I agree.
Before you give yours, Luke, Wicks is also one of those guys who's going to be he's going to be a training camp MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I can pretty much guarantee it. He's going to be making flashy plays. I don't think it means anything. I don't think he's that good, but he's one of those guys. Like once he makes some headlines in practice and there's those highlights, trade him to someone in your league that really likes him. Maybe he becomes something, but I think his value is for sure going to rise no matter what.
Especially if you have someone in your league who's a Packer fan.
Yeah. Luke, what's your sleeper?
I kind of talked about him already, but Schoonmaker at Dallas. We've seen, like, I'll just reiterate what I said. Like, Dak Prescott loves to throw over the middle of the field. I think CeeDee Lamb is great at kind of that middle to deep area. They got guys on the outside, like short underneath route, like that screams Schoonmaker to me. I'm like, is Peyton Hendershot shoot? Is he going to do anything? Is Jake Ferguson going to do anything? You know, as much as we all love Jake Ferguson, I think we're all on the same boat as this here. So like, I think there's a role probably day one, week one for Schoonmaker.
Yeah, I'm a Jake Ferguson guy, so I like him. But to say that Schoonmaker couldn't beat out Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot, as Luke calls them, quite the shot at down south to Dallas. But like clearly, this job's fully up for grabs.
Yeah,
like I don't think anyone's coming in with an advantage or anything. Schoonmaker, I think, was taken in the second round.
Sounds right.
So he's either second or third. I think second. So obviously Dallas likes him. So I think they want him to win that job.
And I think that's a big thing, like just kind of getting off rookies here, just talking football. I think that's a big thing. Like, and I know football doesn't start for another, 8 months or whatever. Nobody's really talking about that Dallas tight end room right now. No. I think losing Dalton Schultz is a huge fucking loss for Dallas.
He was franchise tagged last year. Clearly they like him. We'll see what the new Dallas offense looks like, but I'm pretty confident it's going to feature the tight end.
Who took over Kellen Moore's spot?
Basically Mike McCarthy, but let's just
Mike McCarthy started as a tight end coach for everyone.
Brian Schottenheimer.
Okay.
So he'll use a tight end.
Yep.
Okay, so and really quick, once this loads here. So Schoonmaker has an ADP of 40th. So again, I am 32nd, so I'm higher, but 40th, he might not get drafted in your rookie draft. And then Dontavian Wicks is for sure not getting really drafted unless it's like super, super deep. So he's someone you probably could pick up afterwards or take with your last round pick, which is pretty much just taking a flyer on somebody anyway. Another one I'll go with then after Michael. I'll go Sam LaPorta. I just think Sam LaPorta is really fucking good at football. And he's a really good blocker as well. So he's going to be on the field all 3 downs. We saw after trading away TJ Hawkinson, we saw Detroit just kind of go on a run of a different tight end scoring every single week. But they still don't have like a good tight end outside of Sam LaPorta. So I think he's a day one starter. I think he's a big target. He's going to run good routes, and he is extremely dangerous after the catch. So I just think they're going to get the ball in his hands, and he's just going to make magic. I think St. Brown is very similar in that regard too. So I think Detroit's offense is going to be pretty good, especially with everyone keying on the run. He's just going to be a great valve there. So I think he's a tight end one of the future, to be completely honest. Like I said, I rank him 17th. ADP is 27th. I wouldn't leave the second round without taking him. Like, I wouldn't risk it. I think he's worth it.
I think you can make a strong argument that out of everybody that'll be drafted in your dynasty draft, in your rookie draft, he might have had the best landing spot out of everybody. Not only Detroit, but with Dan Campbell at coach, please.
On top of all that, I mean, we talked about the last 4 years how hard it is to find a good tight end. I think in Dynasty there's maybe 5, solid starters. I'm not saying that LaPorta is going to be a solid starter for 15 years, but at least it's someone to fill a spot that's really hard to find.
Yeah, I mean, it's not very often that tight ends are featured in an offense. So I think he already has that advantage. A lot of times they eat into each other. They play 2 tight end sets, and there's just another good threat. He doesn't have that. There's a long line of successful Iowa tight ends. So if you're taking a tight end from school, I think that's good. And to your point, Trevor, like Dan Campbell knows how to coach tight ends. He was a tight end in the NFL for many years.
Coach Dan Arnold, Jaguars legend.
He did. That's big. There's nothing else you can say after that. So, yeah, perfect landing spot. Trevor, do you have another sleeper?
Yes, I do. I forgot about him. He's going to be another guy you can probably wait on or take at the very end. I'm super high on A.T. Perry for absolutely no reason. I know he's with the Saints, but like the Saints wide receiver room outside of Chris Olave is an absolute landmine. Like, do we really think Michael Thomas is going to come back effective? On top of that, dude's 6'5". I know he's a little skinny. He's not super fast, but like at the end of the rounds and for players, like I just look for guys who are productive. Maybe they don't have the measurables, but dude's an absolute force at Wake Forest. Again, I know it's Wake Forest, but you can't ask much more for him than to make plays, and that's what he did. And so coming into a weak room with the questionable quarterback, he's a big body. I mean, in the red zone, who knows? He could be the guy because at tight end, Juwan Johnson, he's obviously a good guy, in the red zone. Fuck you, Luke. Taysom Hill is technically a tight end, but he's just a big body. I like him a lot. He's productive.
I think Foster Moreau is there now as well.
Third string.
But yeah, I mean, there's few wide receiver rooms around the NFL where a rookie can step in and compete right away, like legitimately, especially if you're a late round draft pick. I'm not sure when he was drafted, but it wasn't super early.
Sixth round.
So, I mean, yeah, I think that's completely fair. And I would assume the passing game there gets better. I don't love Derek Carr by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he's better than what they had last year. Luke, do you have another sleeper?
I do. And I don't necessarily know if this is a guy like, yes, you absolutely have to have him. I think he's worth a look. It's Puka Nakua at the Rams. I think we're all in the same boat that the Rams are kind of a bounce back candidate this year. The Allen Robinson experiment obviously didn't work. I mean, he's behind Ben Skoranek right now for that outside receiver. I know the Rams love Ben Skoranek, but I mean, Puka's got great size. I mean, he in college he shows he can go up and grab balls. We all know Matt Stafford loves to chuck the ball deep. He's a guy that I can probably guarantee you is going to go undrafted in your draft. I think he's worth a look. This Rams offense is really interesting to me. And we know McVay likes to get moving here a little bit. That screams, a lot of receivers coming in and out. So I definitely think he's at least worth a look if you have an open roster spot or want to take a chance on a receiver.
McVay is also not afraid to invest time developing like late round wide receivers.
Yeah.
Obviously, like they has producers all over the field that were late round guys. So yeah, I think that's completely fair. I think his name he's a completely different type of player, but his name is too much like Tutu Atwell for me. And I'm still waiting on Tutu Atwell to be a thing.
Right.
He went to BYU, home of Jamal Williams, and he didn't get kicked out of there. So
home of Jimmer Fredette.
It is the kingdom of Jimmer Fredette. I'll just fire these out. Like I just took my rankings and compared them to the ADP. So the players I'm most higher on: Marvin Mims, 21 higher. I guess he's a sleeper. I just don't consider him a sleeper. Like I said, I ranked him 9th overall. So definitely like him. Michael Wilson, I'm 20 spots higher on at 25. Jonathan Mingo, again, I had ranked him 8th overall, but I'm 17 spots higher on him. So kind of a sleeper, I guess. And then Cedric Tillman from Tennessee, now in Cleveland. I'm 14 spots higher on him at 22. So those are a list of guys